Hi everyone, Ben here. I'd just like to take a moment to thank some of our patrons. Hannah Sim, Jessica Mullino, Hal, Luke Curry, Brandon Wheeler, Surreal Bill, Ridwin, Patrick Haggerty, Steve Pelopoli, Fred Rosenberger. Thank you all. We really appreciate your support. If you'd like to join them, go to www.patreon.com/rustyquill and take a look at our rewards.
Welcome to the Rusty Quill Gaming Podcast. I'm your host and GM, Alex Newall, and with me today I have...
Ben Meredith,
Bryn Monroe,
Lydia Nicholas, and Helen Gould.
And who are you playing?
No one.
We're just ourselves today, Alex.
I don't know. It's just me. It's just Helen doing all the voices.
Off you go. We didn't warn her. What we are doing today is we are going to try something that I think is ill-advised, but we're going to give it a go.
Ill-advised, but he suggested it.
So, what
he
we're
just
going
gives
to do...
ill advice.
I'm just a bad friend. That's what this comes down to.
Here's my advice. It is bad.
So, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be getting a recap of everything that happened up to this point. However, I'm not going to help. I'm not going to be steering this. This is very much... what do the players think has happened up to this point?
Yeah, Helen, what happened up to this point?
Now,
This is going to be fantastic.
It is worth pointing out at this stage that we are recording this after having recorded with Helen for a little while. So the reactions from Helen for the first few episodes are like, they're not faked or anything, but it does also mean that you still don't know the majority of this information.
Yeah, like you're talking about Mr. Ceiling, and I do not know who that is.
Yeah.
But like,
Oh, wow.
I'm just imagining a ceiling with a face on it.
You're not far off. So with that in mind, okay, I finally get to be a spectator and just watch this train wreck
Would you like to
happen.
explain why we're doing this?
Well-
So, hello and welcome to the break between seasons,
Very much,
everyone.
very much. Welcome to the break between seasons. If this is your first episode,
Why?
I'm not that hateful.
Well, no, this is quite a good first
Oh,
episode.
yeah, that's the one
It's
episode I
exactly
can't
the,
say that.
It's exactly the point
All right, fair, well done.
of having this. Is
Yeah,
the
you
first
made a
potential
really
first
good choice.
episode.
Don't listen to Ben. In fact,
sorry,
just
everyone.
don't listen to Ben in general. I
sorry,
think
everyone.
someone,
I mean,
this
I've
is
really
Creative
let you down
Commons,
here.
so you could create a fan
I'm making
edit
use right now
taking
of the fact
Ben
that we
out.
can do different volumes.
So-
The whole
I'm just
thing.
gonna
I
talk
think it would still
quietly
be
about
great.
actually the entire
With
this
this in
episode.
mind-
What?
And this, if nothing else, will be evidence to why a GM exists. I am handing over complete control to all of you. Obviously, Helen can learn these things as they go, and I can just slowly get more and more incensed as it's clear that the majority of the story has passed you by.
Yep.
With that in mind,
Are you incensed in the remembrance?
regale me.
Okay.
We're going to try and not to get too detailed, guys. If you want to hear the detailed version, go back and listen to the episode.
we've got like
That's
100
what they're
hours.
for.
Okay, episode 1, go. Tell me about it.
So I think
We all
it's...
met in the street, basically.
No, Zolf was hiring an adventurer, and there was a rubbish one turned up.
Yep.
And then Bertie turned up.
Yep.
And
It
then
was also rubbish, but more effective.
But
Yeah.
I also had a rubbish companion who I called Figgis, much to Alex's
that was
chagrin.
it. Figures. And so
He
then
named him before I got a chance.
Well, that's
They-
what
and
happens
became
when you don't
canon.
recurring
rename it.
habit. And then they left, and then they bumped into Hamid, and Hamid was
No, I turned up much later.
much later. Okay, so you bumped into Sasha.
bumped into
she
you,
was
yeah.
she was fighting off a bunch of would-be assassins / captors in an alleyway, and then these chaps came along and helped her beat up the other people.
Yep.
Pretty much picking a side at random, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, when there's 3 thuggish men and 1 short woman, it's not always that difficult to work out which is the right side.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they were getting trounced.
They got murdered.
They got murdered quite hard.
That's how true friendships are formed.
And Hamid showed up and only stopped and got involved because he and Bertie were friends from university.
Yeah.
Really?
Proving that the old boys network even
Yeah.
applies inside mystical, magical adventuring
What university
parties.
was it?
Cambridge.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course it was.
That's how it
I mean,
works.
we did partly do that because that's where me and James met in real life as well.
Really?
So,
I didn't know you went back that far.
yeah. Many years.
I know Johnny from Oxford.
Anyway, once we were all teamed up, Zolf was like, "Hey, you guys seem competent to fight. Do you want to join us?" Brilliant.
Yeah.
We need to go and
Hamid had done literally nothing. I don't know why he seemed competent to you. I don't know. You know.
You
narrative.
talked some things down for a while.
Oh yeah, no, you
You were really
managed to crack.
talky.
Yeah, you
like
managed
all
to
of the
crack.
guards were like, "What happened?" And then you were,
I tried.
I'm helping. I'm not helping. No, this is on you.
Yeah, because you were trying to be charismatic.
Yeah.
So basically, we then I invited them to help out with the bodyguard thing at the party that was being held by Thomas Edison in London.
Bertie's poshness allowed us, with the power of posh,
Yeah.
we got into the party.
Actually, you won't be aware of this. Bertie genuinely had an ability called pomp and pageantry, which gave him a bonus as long as he acted as posh and ridiculously over the top as possible.
Yeah,
It's a very obscure one that
And
had
took-
James written all
took
over
twice,
it.
twice as long to do everything.
Oh, that was the rule. It had to take literally, like, in the rules, twice as long.
Yeah.
And that's not an us thing, that's a Pathfinder thing.
Yeah, we didn't capitulate on that at all. And so then we went to the party, and
So it was a big unveiling by Edison.
then they unveiled a thing, and then everything exploded.
We should say what they unveiled. That's I mean that's
just like a what's it?
Explosion!
Yeah. No. Okay. So they well, actually, Bryn,
Explode!
so
An exploding like
the thing that was unveiled was a large robot that Edison referred to as the simulacrum. It basically a mechanical person that was capable of performing, a huge variety of mundane tasks, but also
including building itself.
importantly,
Oh, no.
capable of replication.
Did a mechanical
he
singularity.
made Ultron.
It's sort of, yeah.
So that was really good, and everyone
No,
was very
terrible.
impressed. Oh, and also there were a bunch of like ambassadors from different governments there who were like,
They get
yes.
assassinated.
Well,
Funny you should ask.
explode!
Yeah,
Explode!
then yes,
Everything blew up.
everything blew up.
Everything.
Everything was on fire. The floor caved in. Edison immediately died.
We
And,
rescued Colgate.
and
Very
the
bad
Japanese
bodyguard.
ambassador.
And Byron,
No,
don't
no,
get
we
Byron.
And
we
Byron.
actually we almost stopped them. Anyway, yeah. So they blew something up. They stole the simulacrum and the plans for the simulacrum. And we spent a while trying to save everyone from the burning building because we're heroes, of course. And we did a decent job, actually.
Yeah,
You actually did you rescued people, which astonished me, but there we go.
we couldn't pursue them and rescue everyone, and we erred on the side of rescuing people.
Actually, yes.
I ran after them.
Sasha did track them through the basement, right? And then they
Sasha
blew up a
tracked them.
tunnel in front
Yeah,
of
they
you.
blew up a tunnel so it collapsed and she couldn't chase them further.
Yeah. So then when we got out, we met up with an old police contact that Zolf had called Haringey, who tasked us with...
Hired, with the entire police force of London in disarray. Was like,
Yeah.
a mercenary
and,
adventuring group.
the
You
bomb-
go track them down.
The bomb killed like a lot of the cabinet members.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So it was bad. It was a bad time for
Wait,
all.
this is in Britain?
Yes.
Okay.
In London.
London.
Upper London.
Oh,
There is upper and lower London.
But then...
Oh, don't jump the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
But
So,
then we went underground.
well, we went to the sewers specifically.
Yes.
And I swam in some poo.
Oh yeah, that was like a whole episode.
That was 2 episodes.
That was
It was
one
just
of my
you swimming
favourite
in
episodes.
poo.
It was
I
just-
remember that.
All good games have a sewer level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, me and Bertie were tugging on the rope for ages.
Yeah.
That was one of
It was like an hour of listening was just you in poo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was-
crazy days.
honestly,
Wallowing about.
that
And we're
was
all
one of my-
very, very grateful that Alex can't add smell effects to the podcast with the same intensity and care and love he shows to adding sound effects to
To
the
be
podcast.
quite honest, with what you put us through, that was the happiest time of Solf's existence. Actually. That was the least distressing thing that happened to him.
That's genuinely true, actually. Yeah.
He enjoyed himself. He
Like
was
nice
helping.
mundane poo.
Like, so what you're saying is that his poo swim was like a sepia-toned moment that
Yeah.
will live on.
Anyway, so we retrieved some bits of the simulacrum and ascertained from that they didn't actually want the simulacrum itself. They didn't. That was more of a byproduct.
Yeah,
So
they destroyed it and dumped part of it.
Wanted the plans.
Yeah.
So we then went back to Haringey, who sent us into other London, which was basically the original London, which got built on top. So like Tesla flooded London. So
It's
they
basically Midgar in Final Fantasy VII.
they built.
I've not played any of the Final Fantasy.
They basically the rich people abandoned London.
Stop listening and go and play Final Fantasy VII. That's just a better use of your time.
We'll see you in 100 hours.
Come back. Okay, well done. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry about
Didn't you like the bit where the guy did the thing with the stuff?
Do.
I've never played that game.
Not steering you is
There are
killing
bits
me.
of- I know it's okay.
killing
Alex, it's okay. So basically,
Yeah, there
Tesla tried to do some like mass transit experiments, accidentally flooded London. Then all of the rich people went, "This sucks. We're going to build another London above the old London, and none of the poor people can come with us."
That
So
sounds like
there,
rich people, yeah.
exactly. So Sasha comes from other London.
Yeah. So this was we going down again into other London was something she wasn't particularly keen on as an idea because the whole point of her getting out and being chased down by the assassins was her running away.
Yeah, Sasha was super keen not to share any of her past with us and to move on and get out. So the first thing we did is went and get captured by her family.
Yay!
You have a family?
Yeah, well,
Family's word.
Yeah.
Insofar as they can make her feel
I
like
mean,
guilty and
family
bad.
in the mafia sense rather than the loving home sense.
So basically, what happened is we got ambushed, completely lost the fight.
Yeah.
Got captured
It was bad.
by Barrett, who is basically Sasha's.
Sasha's uncle. So there's the whole. Yeah, I mean, she doesn't really know what her family is, but she was a remarkably gifted thief, and thus was kind of forced to do thieving for Barrett for like as she grew up.
Well, if you're good at thieving, they're not going to force you to like cook, are they?
Yeah,
I mean, what I hear is really good HR.
yeah.
So basically, what happened is we got given a cursed ring.
So this all happened.
You don't know it's cursed.
It's cursed,
It's definitely cursed because Hamid can't take it off.
and got
That's how you know when an item's cursed.
Yeah, that's
and
the
got
sign.
looked at spookily by a Dementor-looking thing.
Yeah, we didn't actually see a face under the
Just
cowl,
creepy.
did we?
It just
Creepiness.
spooked behind.
yeah, it had a really
Barrett.
creepy voice, and not creepy in an Alex sort of way, like creepy in a genuine,
Oh,
eldritch
thanks.
thing kind of way.
Thank you so
Like a
much.
school kind of way.
Yeah.
Oh, that was exactly where I was going. Helen's my favourite.
So that
I have been your
And
favourite.
there was a point there where Sasha asked Barrett about the whereabouts of her cousin and best friend who she hadn't seen and had assumed that had been murdered by her family, and he said some creepy things about he's in Paris
And his name is Brock.
having as fun a time as you could expect or something like that.
But after that, we got sent on our merry way.
So I'm just going to say that all happened in episode 12,
Yeah.
and someone on the forums re-listened to that episode recently and necroed the thread saying, "Oh my god, I just re-listened to episode 12. There's so much plot in here, guys." And to be honest, if you want to get a snapshot of the first, that section of the podcast, that's a really good episode to re-listen to. Episode 12 had a lot of stuff in, and it was one I was really happy with personally.
Yeah.
I think that's where we actually started to get good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it was all amazing from the start.
Oh,
but-
absolutely.
Yeah.
We meant well.
And then after that,
They did not mean well.
what they meant and what occurred. And then Barrett sent us on a job to attack.
Well, he told
some
us where the
people.
compound that the people who'd stolen the plans to the simulacrum were.
Yeah.
So, we went to the compound.
Yep.
Basically, and we tricked some guards who had
Yeah.
some guard dogs outside by Bertie the human statue.
Yeah.
So
Bertie the human
Bertie
statue.
stood in a dirty pond.
He did a disguise check and he rolled a 20.
So he just stayed
Glorious.
really still. And then Hamid ran over and told everyone, like, guys, I found this cool statue. So they went and looked
And
at the
also
cool
got like a
statue.
natural 20 or close enough. if I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
So basically, they went and looked at this cool statue. We all jumped on them and immediately jobbed them. Except
And
for
took one of their dogs for our own.
Yay.
the really dumb one that was bad at everything.
Oh, that's the best kind of dog.
Yeah, it was a very stupid dog. It was very bad.
Canonically, I believe it was a Pugweiler.
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure that's how it was started being described, but it quickly became one, and that became canon.
Yeah. Anyway, so after doing that, we attacked the base.
And the base attacked back.
The base attacked back.
Well, no. So the first thing is that Lydia did an amazing job sneaking up behind all the big, scary people that Alex had planned for this to be in this boss fight.
Oh, yes.
And completely destroying
Oh, yes,
them.
let's not forget that, shall we?
Hamid in this fight actually genuinely just vomited in a corner while everyone else bossed out and destroyed this encounter without almost any problems. It was quite impressive.
The only problem was
Distressing.
Alex's eyes.
Openly distressing is what it was.
But yeah, so
and set
It
a
was
tone.
glorious. So glorious.
so we captured their ringleader.
So you'll notice that in those first 15 episodes, there's one supposedly easy fight that we'd been completely destroyed in, and one supposedly hard fight that we'd completely destroyed.
Tactics, guys.
This is the nature of GMing, though. Isn't it? Yeah.
This is a pattern that will recur.
So
So for listeners, Alex just looks sad.
It's the nature of herding cats.
So we captured their boss, but also one of their number got away. Sasha had a conversation with on the roof and fell a little bit in love.
I mean, he jumped so high.
Yeah.
Bonus points if you remember their name.
It was a fleeting crush. But anyway, so from
Should
him...
remember the exact angle of the arc of his somersaults, but
yeah, so,
I mean, if we'd named that character, he'd probably have a really memorable name.
like
because,
Foggis.
because we let Alex name it. It's probably something really generic.
Jump.
That's if the British public named it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we learned from him that the plans had been sold on.
Yep.
We then went, cool,
And
now we're done here, but...
And we learned from him that we shouldn't open the room that was filled
Well,
with booby traps.
no. Sasha learned that, didn't tell anyone, and then opened the room full of booby traps.
Was explicitly told there's a room full of death. Don't open it.
But like, there might have been some really valuable death.
That's why you put death on her door, to keep you away from the valuable stuff.
Yeah.
Turns out it was actually just a shed full of explosives,
She got exploded for the first time.
and gained her first scar.
Yeah,
That's the one down your
first,
neck?
It was like
On
down the
your
side of her
face?
face
Yeah.
and down her back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
But it was all burned when she got thrown through
Yeah.
a wall and set on fire.
But fortunately, she was fine-ish, you know.
She remained alive.
Remained
She
alive.
made the reflex save for half damage.
So we went back to Haroun with our hostage and found out that it was Byron's sister, Augusta. So, yeah, that was a bit of a revelation. Found out that she stole it just to make a bunch of money and because she hated her brother,
Yeah, well,
I think.
understandable.
Because he's a pompous fool.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much.
yeah, so we found that, and then somebody wrote a newspaper article about us, which was nice.
Yeah, we got famous.
We got famous.
Sasha wasn't happy.
Good famous, not bad famous
And we
either.
christened ourselves the London
Oh,
Rangers. We're
God.
working on the name.
Yeah.
Was our
Is
canon.
that the full name?
Yes,
That is our canon
It's the
name.
London Rangers. We're still working on the name.
I've
It's the
got
full-
it on a t-shirt.
Then we met. Oh, and then we went back to Hamid's place and found out that Oscar Wilde had broken in because he's a knob.
Yeah, and him and Bertie.
Oh God, no! Let's not talk about
Had
it.
a torrid one night stand.
It was
Yeah.
awful. It
It
was
was magical.
The flirty puns were the worst thing that's ever happened.
Watching
Yeah.
Alex and James flirt as Bertie and Oscar Wilde was a distressing experience.
Every move you make.
It's the kind of
amazing.
thing
What
you
episode
feel like you
number
can
is
never
that?
unhear.
Yeah, I want to listen to this.
Because some people are going to want to dive in.
I genuinely can't remember.
All
think
I
that might have
remember is
been
it's not episode 69, which makes me
17,
Nice.
17 or 18.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so from that...
So technically, episode 17 was the end of the prologue, and we also, because there was one other thing that came out of the prologue, is that we got amongst the papers that we recovered from Byron's sister was a notebook. And it turned out the notebook was written by whoever built the simulacrum. It turned out whoever built the simulacrum was not, in fact, Edison after all.
Edison, a liar? Who would have thought?
What?
Charlatan?
Revelation. Anyway, we got a book of plot points.
Yeah, so the notebook literally contains 6 clues that we then... the rest of the campaign is investigating
Do we
those 6
remember
clues.
what those clues are?
Okay,
From
there
memory,
was-
no notes.
There was origami crane or thing. There was a bit of metal that wasn't really metal.
Yep.
There was
I remember much better than this, but I'm letting everyone else go first.
there was a note. My dear Henri, I'll meet you in Paris. Kiss, kiss, or something like that. And
There's a weird seed.
and there was a weird seed, or maybe that was the metal thing that wasn't
No,
metal.
because there was a bit of Damascus adamantium.
Yeah, Damascus adamantine and the seed.
Alex's face is so red.
There's a
then-
Damascus piece of adamantium and also a weird metal seed.
And there's something. Is the metal seed is the Svalbard thing,
Yes.
isn't it? Right. So there was clues that were supposed to lead us to Paris, Svalbard, Prague, and
Cairo?
Cairo.
I think Cairo was
You
one,
don't remember the
wasn't
Cairo one then?
it? No.
So there was a safety deposit key that we tracked to a
Oh, that's
branch
really
of a
handy. I
bank in
completely forgot.
Cairo.
Yeah.
So it's good that we're heading to Cairo now.
Yeah.
So I remember that.
really, really good.
So I have all these notes on my character sheet because that's the best place to keep notes, but I also do remember them.
Especially
better.
like campaign-defining ones.
Basically, we need to blame Alex for not making us
methods
props.
performing.
So some of the clues were physical objects. 2 of them were not. So part of the notebook was just a diary. And so the diary includes references to having lunch and discussions with Francois Henri in several Paris cafes. And we worked out who Francois Henri was, I think, from the
Yeah, he was
notebook as well.
The head of the ordinateurs. So that's basically like the computer accountants in Paris.
So the other thing that was just written in the notebook, in terms of the diary portion, was some work done at Prague University, which was a bit vague, but we knew that was one of the places we had to visit. The four physical things were a sliver of metal that was unusual, a weird seed, a safety deposit key, and this piece of quite distinctive Japanese paper folded into a crane.
And then for some reason, we went to the British Museum. And
So with the first thing we did was we went to various places in London to get a little bit more information about each of these
Because we
clues.
went to see Beaming Gusset.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Beaming Gusset.
Beaming Gusset is
Beaming
the...
Gusset?
Yeah,
Beaming Gusset, you know? Beaming Gusset. Your old mate, my old mate, Beaming Gusset.
You got a thing you want? You want to buy it? You want to sell it? Don't matter.
Beaming Gusset.
It sounds like a small town in Kent.
I mean, it's a small gnome in London, so...
He was the antiques dealer that had taken Sasha in. When she didn't quite escape other London, there was a mysterious inheritance, and so then she was moved from captivity in other London up to sort of a weird crinoline cage of why am I in this posh life in Upper London? And they were training her for something.
It also gives her the excuse occasionally to be, oh yeah, definitely an antiques dealer, not a thief.
Yeah, it was right, just appraising. So he was a mentor, and then but someone had broken into his shop, and we never really dealt with that.
No, not at all. One other thing that he did do is notice Zolf's ring.
Yeah.
But he didn't say anything about it. But apparently, it was linked to something about Sasha. He thought I'd stolen it.
Yeah,
but we didn't know why.
So Sasha being delivered from. I don't.
How you doing, Helen? Have any idea at all? Because this is just whoom.
Yeah, this is quite the experience.
So Sasha's backstory was that she was kept in other London, and then there was something that she didn't really understand. That means that she was then sent to what's his name, Rake Fine.
Rake, oh yeah.
And so that guy then kept her there, and she was being sort of taught all these posh arts and given a job in an antiques dealer and whatever, and she didn't really understand
pretty,
why.
steals a watch.
Yeah.
So pretty.
It's kind of
steals
My
an
Fair
entire
Lady,
bookcase.
right?
Yeah. Pardon?
It's kind of My Fair Lady, but also with more thievery.
Sort of with that, but with more
And a bit of
violence.
murder,
Yeah.
So My Fair Lady crossed with Oliver
Yeah.
Twist.
So there.
My Fair Twist.
So yeah,
Oliver
pretty
Lady.
much.
Oliver Lady.
Essentially Oliver
Better.
Lady.
Not
yeah.
not part of her, Oliver Lady.
Right, ban him from the podcast.
So Rake Fine had a ring because he was part of some secret thing, and then it turned out that Zolf's
had a
ring
ring as
that he
well.
got from his brother, which he didn't really understand, that was the same symbol.
Little did he know. We'll get to that later. Anyway, so from there we got the lead for the British Museum.
Yep.
In the British Museum, we released some skeleton bandits from the Paris Catacombs.
And immediately destroyed them.
We were very good again.
But we also
So
sort
you
of
did release them.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that.
I mean, to be fair, they had unguarded cursed pots with skeleton bandit
They
spirits
had a
in them.
red velvet rope. I think it was fine.
Yeah, so they knew there were evil skeletons in here. They were like, "Don't smash the pots."
Wasn't it the dog?
Yeah, Brutor knocked
Yeah.
over, I think, a spear, which knocked over the pots. Anyway, we also found the Shroud of Nefertiti, which Bertie was really interested on because...
No, James. Let's be clear.
Okay, James really interested in-
obsessed himself
Because
over.
basically, you had a 50-50 chance if you put it on and you're immortal, or you put it on and you immediately die.
Oh, did he put it on?
No. But he really wanted to.
He was
for,
always planning to.
Yeah,
I'd really want to as well.
there you go.
Oh.
but as well as destroying the skeletons, we destroyed quite a lot of the exhibits.
Oh, yeah, there was just a bunch of stuff.
And so then.
There was a pickled flesh golem. It flopped on us. It was
Gross!
But yeah, from that we found out from the curator that the thing had the origami had squid ink on it, which linked it to a certain town in Japan, I think.
Yeah.
So it gave us a
Well,
place link.
he wasn't very helpful. He wasn't very precise. He did explain the squid ink, but he said he couldn't narrow down the location.
So
in
what
Japan
you're saying
any
is
further.
basically Alex forced us to waste our time.
Yep. Then we went to Kew. And there was swarms and plant monsters and fear.
There was an infestation in the basement.
Oh, and
Awful.
Zolf was the leader, but then gave up, got in a sulk, and said Hamid could be the leader. Fine.
Oh,
and he did a really good job.
Yeah, he did actually.
Were you having a feud?
Well, no, so basically I was like, we have to run away, we're going to die down here.
Yeah.
And Hamid was like, no, we need to save the man that we don't know is down here, maybe, and might already be dead. And Zolf was like, that's a stupid idea, fine, you do it.
And we were.
And he did.
We were.
Yeah, I know, to be fair, he did.
We were a roll away from potential TPK.
We were fine, totally fine.
Yeah, we were very close to being just completely murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because some people were attacked by the frozen
mold.
mold, and some people were being
there were
attacked by a swarm.
Angry mandrakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. Anyway, we found the botanist we needed, who
Yep.
I think was the one who told us about the seed in Svalbard, so that's where we got that lead. Anyway,
And we got a bribe. It was great.
yeah, we got a bribe for covering things up. Zolf got grumpy about that. Hannah
Ooh,
was fine with
money!
it, always
Yeah.
the son of a banker.
Yeah.
Anyways, then we went to
Bertie and Sasha were like, yeah, that's how you live.
You've skipped one of the places we went to in London.
Did we?
We went to a bank.
Oh yeah! And we saw Figgis again pretending to be Byron and Zolf got drunk.
Yeah.
And that's all he remembers of that.
Yeah. That's about what happened.
So they were able to tell us which branch the safety deposit key came from.
Yeah.
So we didn't know. So we initially didn't know where any of the clues led to. So we knew we would have to go to Paris and Prague. But so Beaming Gusset told us that the piece of metal was Damascus adamantine. Kew told us that the best place to find out more about the seed would be the seed bank run by the dwarves in South Svalbard. And the bank told us that the key was to the Cairo branch of the Al-Tahan family bank.
And then the British Museum, the British Museum, I think, did give us the Japan connection. I mean, we'd already kind of guessed it because origami, but
yeah.
And there was a car chase, involving a potato cart. And
that was pretty cool.
Was also like a watermelon stall and
a lot of
almost,
roll
blankets.
a couple of workmen with a
Do you
really,
have any
really,
idea how many
big pair of
cardboard boxes the cart ploughed?
But yes, so once we'd done all that sort of London stuff,
This now gave us our 6 clues led to 6 around the world locations.
whoa! So to do that, we said, okay, well, let's get the Eurotunnel.
Which exists.
We went to Dover.
Yeah, so we went down to Dover, and it was very, very rainy. And we tried to find a fish and chip shop, but the soggy cabin boy wasn't good enough. Nor was the soggy bosun, nor was the soggy first mate, nor I think was the
soggy captain.
Yeah, not the soggy captain. And
Helen
then
has expensive tastes, guys. She comes from a very privileged background.
We found ourselves at the soggy admiral.
Yeah, which is very nice.
Yeah.
And then some merchants there were chatting rubbish about Poseidon, so Zolf almost got in a fight, which Bertie diffused. But then we went...
Really?
Yeah.
Only time.
No.
no.
We're getting to his biggest diffusion.
Diffused by shouting at people.
Yes.
So not by de-escalating.
But then we came out and the riot was happening because all the merchants were like, we can't get out.
There were bright lights because we were like, there was smoke everywhere, and someone was playing music. And Hamid used dancing lights to tag people.
We started a rave.
So we had a rave.
We turned a riot into a rave because basically the merchants were angry that the Poseidon cult weren't just making the storm go away, and they're like, that's not how that works. The merchants were like, we're losing loads of money. But basically we started a rave. Bertie critted on dispersing the crowd and just basically convinced them all to kind of go home.
Sit down, everyone!
It was another glorious natural 20.
Yeah. But then the Navy turned up and kettled everyone. We got let out and then picked up by the head of the Navy, whose name was some bloke. He was friendly and northern. Barnes. Captain Barnes?
Commander Barnes.
Commander Barnes. Yes, so we went...
It was nice.
Yeah, we went to basically the Navy's, gentleman's club.
And then backstory happened.
Yeah, and then Zolf's backstory kicked in.
A wild backstory appears.
So Zolf used to be in the Navy and went AWOL. At that point, once Barnes met him, he looked up his record, found this, and arrested Zolf.
Oh.
So Zolf went to prison a bit.
A bit.
Yeah.
But there was a single female lawyer, so it's okay.
Yeah, and
Single female lawyer.
and he also got...
It's a Futurama reference.
Yeah.
He got very friendly with the person that was running the prison and got into his romance novels.
He introduced him to romance novels.
Really good ones. The best.
That's why most of the fan art, or not fan art, most of the official merch is of Zolf reading romance novels.
Aww.
Going,
No, going, Jennifer, no.
Jennifer, no. He's not right for you.
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't play Zolf.
I never claimed to be Zolf.
but then...
It's being you.
we got out of that.
Hamid mounted an effective legal case and managed to get...
okay.
Yeah.
We're just talking about romance novels.
Hamid was the single female lawyer.
And I got this really nice little track, the swelling brass as he stands there and brings down not just the case, but the very foundations upon which its legal basis stands. He was
kind of awesome.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. And so we paid everyone off. And
Well, no, they basically turned my execution into a fine.
yeah.
You're going to get executed.
Well, yeah, for desertion.
Oh my gosh.
But then, it was turned into a fine and a summary dismissal.
Yeah.
Scandal.
Or dishonourable discharge. Or
Dishonourable discharge.
And then we went to the Temple of Poseidon.
Oh, yeah, because while I was in prison, the head of the cult of Poseidon turned up and was like, I'm a religious leader. Screw you all, do what I want. Wasn't a nice man.
Okay, sure.
That's
Yep.
basically what he did.
Absolutely what happened.
That is what happened.
Continue.
Then we went to the Temple of Poseidon and we met all these mer people and
Oh,
kept making
and we're
fish
really
puns.
racist.
They really
We
were.
made fish
racist
puns
for no
about
reason.
the
Fish people, like...
just like
with Zolf getting more and more furious because they're also like fellow members of his church.
Wait, hang on. You were putting fish people into ponds.
No.
They already lived in the ponds.
Oh no, there wasn't ponds, it was puns.
P-U-N.
Puns.
Oh!
But basically,
We were basically
We were just
committing
floundering
racially insensitive
around.
microaggressions for
Yeah,
half an
yeah,
hour.
Bertie, Hamid and Sasha were making fish
Basically, the
puns
podcast
around.
got very fishy, and etc.,
no!
etc.
Not in the context. Come on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway.
There's a time and a place.
What, the racism?
I'm sorry.
You are crushing my soul.
Floundering.
Okay.
Oh,
This is not a
God.
clips episode. We're not doing all the puns again, as much as I kind of want to.
Anyway, basically.
I've had a cup to here with you.
Oh! We literally did all these!
No. Haddock up to here is a very good one. I have to, he's a monster, but we respect his craft.
That's what conditioning can do.
Anyway, basically, while this was happening, Zolf got taken into the Grand Poseidon wet chamber. Got a
It
grand,
was very, very unnecessarily wet.
yeah, and got a big dressing down for basically being bad at Poseidon. So they all told him, "You suck." He wasn't, Alex. We tried to actually establish the rules for Poseidon, and I was playing true to them, but they kind of changed halfway through because we found out that drowning people wasn't going to be fun.
Oh dear, okay, yes.
Well, look, they were bad people, and also it's Poseidon. He's not a nice god.
And moving on from all the conversations
They
we had
drowned
with Zolf
horses before they went on the sea.
Oh no, that's unforgivable.
Greeks, man. Anyway,
Whoa, okay, carry on.
sorry, okay. Ancient Greeks,
There
man.
we go.
Classical Greeks, man. Anyway,
Too soon.
so I got challenged to basically cross the channel on a coracle.
A what?
It's basically a plate that floats.
Made of driftwood.
A tiny driftwood boat.
Oh.
And then so
Bertie was there.
So he took,
I
took
said
the
I
owl
got-
and the pussycat with him,
So I
by
said-
which I mean Hamid and
to
Sasha.
be fair, he said, "I will go on my own. This is my thing." And then Hamid and Sasha were like, "No, we'll come too." But it was like, "I wear plate armor. Bye."
Just left.
It was really more a case on Sasha's side, and I could spend this time in an incredibly risky, challenging journey that is testing the faith of someone other than myself and potentially drown, or a couple of hours with Bertie.
And made the right
very
call and
true.
would do so again.
Made the right decision, yeah.
Anyway, so we set off in the middle of this horrible storm. Multiple people almost drowned multiple times.
Yeah.
I threw my trident into the sea in an effort to placate Poseidon and
Because you
save.
have no idea what he wants
and
ever
save Sasha.
for the entire campaign. You just no idea.
And
You're very
then
rude to me.
there was a very strange, the hint of something big and mechanical underwater
Yes,
with possibly
sort of-
metal tentacles.
Yeah, sort of a massive metal tentacle crested the waves in the middle of the storm.
It was a squid marine, guys.
Yeah.
Who doesn't build a giant submarine in the shape of a squid? I mean, we've all done that other weekend.
That's fair enough.
We are misspent youth.
Meanwhile,
Meanwhile, Bertie is trying to get the Eurostar.
The tunnel is closed because it's flooded, but he demands, through sheer force of poshness,
Yeah.
that they run a train anyway.
So they run a train anyway.
And it crashes, basically. Or it short
Well,
fuses.
it floods because the
Yeah.
tunnel's filled with water.
well, it's an electrified train that's powered by a lightning elemental, so of course he took it through the flooded tunnel and broke it.
Yeah.
I hope the elemental.
He
went on
also,
strike.
on this train with him, was Harrison Campbell, noted romance novelist.
Yeah, not that I knew that.
Bertie,
Not
of
that
course.
anyone in the party noticed.
Because, well, I was the only one who was into Harrison Campbell novels, so Bertie had no idea who he was. But he did try and use him as a guinea pig for electrocution.
So
they're
he
like-
he traumatized this poor
He
novelist.
said, hey, mate, let's walk through the tunnel. You walk ahead of me.
Just to make sure you won't
In
immediately
case it's
die.
electricity.
Anyway, so Bertie then says...
No, he's fine.
No,
He's
yeah.
Okay,
But
Campbell's
Bertie
fine.
actually decides not to do that, and a split's just that close away
No,
from
he
doing
forces
it.
Campbell to walk up to his neck in water, then Campbell goes, I'm out.
Yeah.
No, go on, it's fine. No, I'm out. And then Campbell just kind of
So,
Run
yeah,
back.
Bertie walks through the Eurotunnel, almost drowns, gets lost, gets very dirty.
Critical fail on direction seeking.
Yep.
He got lost in a tunnel.
I think, to be fair, he got
Yeah,
lost
he
in like the
did.
maintenance access bits of the tunnel. So,
And
got lost in
remember
the tunnel.
he's got the poor dog with him through all of this.
in a
oh, yeah.
papoose at this point.
in a papoose.
Aw.
I think by this point he's already tried to teach it table manners.
Yes, it's a person now.
And it's got several costumes.
Brutor is people now and dressed like an admiral, unless he's dressed as a cult of Poseidon priest to annoy Zolf.
Or a judge.
Or a judge to annoy the judge.
This dog sounds amazing.
Brutor
The
is
dog
pretty
was
amazing.
deeply offensive to just about... oh, hello, cult. Here's someone
Yeah.
dressed as your holy figure.
I hear you have some values. Look, it's a dog with them.
So he gets to Calais. Horribly grimy, wet, slimy figure creeps out from the abandoned railway tunnel and demands to be let out. Eventually, he does manage by shouting in English very slowly to convince people to let him get cleaned up, get in the country, and get to a hotel.
Yeah, Bertie, once you actually tell him back to people, not so much with the charming, and it's
We
good.
were all like, from the beginning, it was like, well, we know who Bertie is. The point is that he's awful.
He's Boris Johnson, but worse.
Yeah.
With a massive sword that he's actually really effective with as well.
Yeah.
It's a potent combo.
Anyway,
Yeah.
meanwhile, we were having a car race to Calais because we met a couple of eccentric
yes.
old women.
Oh, wonderful.
I feel we
Yes.
should be sticking to the essential plot points. I'm not sure they count.
Oh, come on. Anyway,
essential if they
also,
don't
to be
come
honest,
back.
one of them had a car crash and nearly killed Sasha and Hamid.
That's true. It's true.
Zolf was in the other car, so it went fine.
Wrong way around. Hamid was in the other car.
Zolf and Sasha were almost killed. Hamid almost. Anyway.
And we made it to Calais, then we made it to Paris.
Oh, yeah, so Bertie almost did some civilian murder in Calais because he was so angry, and Hamid talked him down. Barely again. Then we made it to Paris. And we had a nice train journey and nothing bad happened. It was great.
So then we get to Paris, this place that Sasha's never been before, and we get off the train, and who should be waiting for her?
A mechanical man.
It was.
Yeah,
Well done.
yeah.
It's almost like you were there. It's almost like you were there, yeah.
To clarify, because in retrospect, not the same mechanical man that
yeah.
Edison was making. Like a real
So-
bog basic, I am a TikTok man.
So Paris is far more technologically advanced than London, so they have automated.
Oh, yeah, they have lots of clockwork. They're clockwork rather than robotics.
Think of it more like a drone.
It sounds quite scary. It sounds
gets-
like the Return to Oz film.
It gets very.
That was
it gets,
kind of what I was going for,
it
but
gets
less
very
sentient.
Rome in 80 days.
Yeah.
The specific Rome location is very much that. Not that you. Yeah.
No, I can
Niche
openly say
references.
I can
Yeah.
openly
Oh,
say
you
that.
mean in the game, not the original novel?
No,
yeah,
no,
in-
no.
in the English
Obviously, Meg Giant's game, not the book.
And I can
Obviously,
openly
the-
say, if you haven't played it, play the 80 Days game. It
It's
inspired
very, very
a good
good.
chunk
It's the
of
best.
my campaign world. I took bits that I liked because that's how creation works.
Yay!
Said Picasso.
Yeah. So that, and it had an invite for Sasha to the swankiest.
Yeah, the penthouse suite of the most expensive hotel in Paris.
In
Yeah.
the world.
In the world.
Had been reserved for her indefinitely,
Yeah.
waiting for her to arrive in Paris.
This sounds incredibly suspicious.
Exactly.
We were incredibly
Why?
suspicious.
I mean, why? Everything's coming up.
Sasha, really,
why would you?
Sasha really didn't want to go.
As I recall, Hamid and Bertie were just like, oh yeah, that sounds right. We sort of expect this
Try
treatment.
and
So-
give you nice things and you suspect me. That's why everything is misery.
Anyway, so we went there. We ate a lot of dire lobster.
Dire lobster, so they're like as
Enormous lobster.
yeah.
Like table-sized lobsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it all gets a bit investigated at this point. But I think basically we hunted down a journalist by going to the newspaper office where a man dropped bottles on us and nearly killed us all.
An elderly man with no class levels.
Also, an
and-
elderly member of one of the Lumiere brothers.
Oh yeah. That just kind of passed by with no one really engaged with, but
Just name dropped casually.
An elderly man with no class levels and 3 hit points, genuinely nearly TPK'd the entire party without throwing a punch.
We ended up on the roof, right? And there was a bit of a
As
gap
you do.
between one thing and the other. And so there was some jumping done, and then there was some falling done, and then there was more falling
Yeah.
on top of the thing.
So-
and then there was some throwing, and the throwing
Yeah,
was
no, it's
bad,
important to get the
and
order
then-
of this right. So Sasha tried to jump across the gap between roofs and failed and fell and got.
Succeeded, but it collapsed.
no.
Succeeded, but the
Yeah.
thing collapsed and she fell down, taking a bunch of damage.
because he dropped a thing on her. That
Yes.
dude.
Yep.
Then Bertie
Then Bertie tried to throw the dog across the gap between buildings.
dropped the
failed.
dog. The dog did not appreciate this. The dog ran away.
But it was okay.
The dog is alive.
Yeah,
Dog
yeah,
survived
the dog
and
was
ran
fine.
away.
But ran away.
Oh,
And
wise.
then Bertie tried to jump across.
Oh no.
And landed.
He's in giant armor. It was never going to work.
And landed on.
Sasha!
Yeah, thus.
She got her second set of hideous scars.
Yes, and a big imprinted falcon in her back.
So, because his armour is all falcons everywhere, and he fell directly on top of her.
Yeah.
When she was
And
already
then Zolf
very
made it, in
injured.
the time it took the entire party to kill themselves, Zolf made it down the alley and just
Yeah.
went.
So this is what happens-
I just cleaned up this mess.
Hamid did not attempt to jump the gap
It's
because
very
he's not an
sensible.
idiot.
Anyway, so once we've done that, we had.
Hey, Sasha jumping across the gap was exactly what she's built for.
And it was
as a
fine
character.
until you got taken out.
Yeah.
And then, so once that, we got the name of a journalist we needed to hunt down who might have known something about Francois Henri. Oh, actually, that's one thing. We went to see Francois Henri at the L'Ordinateur's, which was based in the Arc de Triomphe.
And Sasha had a lovely conversation with him. She
Yeah.
just snuck off and chatted to him.
No.
Really lovely chat.
No.
And then she found herself outside just remembering a really lovely chat. It was great. It was cool.
Yeah, so there was a blank
Chill.
space in Sasha's memory, basically.
Hashtag awesome. Had a great time. Vaguely,
See,
I think.
giving Sasha what she wants and lovely things and no suspicion.
So that was suspicious. So that's why we were hunting down the journalist who knew something about Francois Henri and the weirdness surrounding him. We got a name for the journalist who was actually doing it from that newspaper office.
Yeah,
It
because
wasn't a
we
complete
tried to
set.
organise an appointment with Francois Renew. It was impossible, and Sasha stuck in and had this weird magic. Yeah.
Yeah, and
She
then
couldn't have just had a nice conversation. It had to be magic.
yeah. So then we tried to track down the journalist, track down her mother,
Her mother was super helpful. Basically
Yeah.
explained everything to us because
Yeah.
we had not figured it out.
and
Mrs. Exposition.
so she was convinced that her daughter was dead because she was a journalist and her daughter was a journalist, and they were both, really good at it, really incisive, like they really hunted down stories. And then suddenly her daughter went, "Hi, I'm moving to Canada, bye." And so that wasn't suspicious at all.
And
she'd
everyone
been-
else related to this, just to
Oh,
chuck in one,
anyone
two cents,
investigating anything basically went, "Hey, I
Or
found my
who'd
dream dogs,
work-
bye."
Yeah, or who'd worked on it at all.
got their dreams. Their dreams came true, and then they went away and lived their dreams.
Yeah.
They
I
were
don't
their
think that's
best
what happened.
It was
selves.
all very
Everyone
innocent.
was their best self.
It was all so happy.
Yeah.
So, of course, we blew this thing wide open.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so then we somehow
Just accept
We
utopia
decided
built
to
on
go down-
skulls. Come on,
Yeah,
guys.
so we worked out that something was happening underneath in the catacombs of Paris.
Oh.
So what we decided to do was find an
That's the
archaeologist.
correct reaction, Helen. Well
actually,
done.
at this point, Bertie had left on a train somewhere because he was sad about losing the dog.
Oh, he did just leave.
He just left.
Okay, so he does have a heart at least.
No.
He cares about animals because he's a landowner and a member of the gentry. Yeah.
It's that sort of thing where he can put enough of his own personality onto an animal that he then cares about that animal, because the animal won't then.
Well, he made the dog
And
a
the dog was
person, and the
stupid,
dog was a bad person. So
Yeah.
Bertie was like, I see myself
I love
in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He turned like this lovable, drooling, silly dog into a posh,
A snob.
cruel.
Just the
A dog
worst.
snob.
Yeah.
Just the worst
Oh,
kind of stuff.
no.
Yeah.
He would be dressed up in little sailor boy outfits and sort of sit at the table at posh restaurants and turn his nose up at any food that wasn't posh enough.
Correct.
God.
But anyway, so yeah, we found out like something was going on in the catacombs. So instead of prepping, we found an archaeological
No,
dig.
we were doing an exploratory mission.
Oh, yeah,
We were not planning.
So we managed to fast talk ourselves into this archaeological dig and went, well, we're here now, so we might as well just go.
Well, the opportunity presented itself
Yeah.
to explore further.
So we just went.
and we took it. And perhaps in hindsight that was not the correct
So,
decision. But hindsight is 2020.
And then
Shall I bullet point this? So we went in, we got lost,
Yes.
we didn't have any light, there was a cave in, Zolf was buried and then lost his other leg.
Yeah, so far this sounded exactly like a horror movie I watched.
Yep, so he didn't have any legs at this point.
Oh.
I mean,
he already had one peg.
Oh yeah, he already had one, like,
and then he lost
one
the
leg.
other one in this cave in.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so, and that was legitimately not Hamid's, Bryn's fault for rolling 3 1s in a row.
It's okay though, because
Oh,
what happened to
Bryn.
Hamid's hand?
Oh yes, Hamid got his hand crushed and it went...
Hamid has some slight scarring now.
It doesn't come up. He wears sleeves a lot.
Yeah. So it was all going really badly because Zolf couldn't walk. They couldn't, like Sasha and Hamid couldn't see. So it was great. And then we were
Something
being...
started hunting us in the darkness.
Still sound exactly like this horror film.
So Zolf did have a spell which was like a floating disc, which he basically was casting, sitting on it and being pushed along by Sasha.
Basically, Zolf started casting emergency wheelchair, and in fairness, it worked really well.
Yeah.
Because bearing
really
in mind
well.
that...
Until...
Well, yes. So we were being...
You're my favourite.
So
insane, 'cause
Sasha
it's
went out to
true.
try and find a way out. Didn't find anything. Found a creepy chemical cistern
Yeah.
with like loads of toxic guff going into it. But then we started getting hunted. So Sasha was kind of desperately trying to find a way out while Hamid and Zolf were like following along behind her, fending off this thing which kept trying to nab us.
No, they weren't following behind her. They were sitting in
We
the
were all
dark,
sticking as close
Oh, yeah,
together
yeah.
as
being quiet and
humanly,
terrified.
dwarfly and
while
Yes.
Sasha
halflingly possible.
wandered
I think
off.
he skipped to the point where you decided to flee because you knew it was stalking. And
So,
it was
so,
gonna
so
get
the
you.
thing started stalking Sasha. Sasha came back, went, there's something stalking us, and then it started stalking all of us. So we went the other way. Yeah. We found our way to like...
we were trying to run across, and there was an underground river with
Yeah.
a bridge over it.
Yeah, we found our way to like an ancient cistern thing, and there was a bridge.
Did you find the
You
philosopher's
shall
stone?
not pass, but instead tentacles. You know?
So-
oh, think
yeah.
Balrog, but tentacles and so many eyes.
So the
If
thing...
only we could have just gotten into a riddle contest with it. It would have been
Yeah.
so much simpler.
None of you tried to talk to it. I'm just saying I had a whole backstory planned
It had
out.
too many mouths.
So Sasha fell down the ravine
Oh,
and
Well,
was
no,
lost.
all the rest of you
No,
fell
no,
down
no.
it first.
Sasha
Sasha's the only one
was
that didn't.
right
Wait,
at
Sasha...
the
Oh,
end.
sorry, yeah.
She tried to save you all.
Oh, yes, you...
You
okay,
all
yeah, sorry.
fell?
No,
yeah.
no.
Okay. Stop. Try again.
Zolf got flicked off the bridge by a tentacle from a
Oh,
monster.
and having got his
Like
trident,
Gandalf.
back by Poseidon means, threw it again at the monster in a last-ditch attempt to save his friends. Missed.
Yeah.
And plunged to his death.
Yeah, and plunged into the darkness.
So Hamid and Sasha just about made it across the bridge. Hamid attempted to hide from the creature.
Didn't work.
Didn't work. So Hamid got just snatched by a tentacle. And that was the last we heard from him.
And died.
So Sasha was now alone
In the dark.
Pitch dark. No way of making light.
oh my god.
Above a chasm.
Yeah, and
Decided to climb down into
yeah,
the river.
and
So
this-
actually, sorry, fun fact, this was not the nadir of that arc.
No. This is.
So we're still on the way down.
This is all just one arc.
yeah.
Welcome
And
to why people find it hard to join my masterful creation.
So then Sasha had very much thought like, well, I could either go forwards into the darkness, or I could go back into the cave-in and the monster, or I could climb down the ravine and see where my mates are. So she climbed down the ravine and she actually kept rolling really
Yeah,
well.
you did. You made it basically to the bottom of the ravine and went,
And she got
a river.
She got, and then she was climbing along the river for quite some time.
Yeah.
And it, like we kept rolling and she kept doing okay until eventually she slipped. And
Fun fact,
then
it was possible for you to make it without falling in, but
So
the rolls would have been
it would have- yeah, it was-
so
ridiculous.
she slipped and drowned.
died?
So, slam cut 2, Zolf wakes up in a tank.
Yeah.
With
Water tank.
Okay.
Not pew pew pew.
yeah.
It's World War One. Zolf doesn't know how he got there. Suddenly, the guy from Quantum Leap is next to him, and they all just look at each other and go, "Ooh."
So it gets a bit matrixy because he wakes up in a tank suspended in some fluid with like a mechanical windpipe shoved down his windpipe and lots of
Yes.
like plugs in him. So it really is very
Exactly
the
like
Matrix.
the Matrix, yeah.
So he gets out of
Well,
that.
except he has no legs. And
Oh,
his
yeah.
legs have been
Oh.
replaced by ports.
Plug
Yeah, so I've
sockets.
got like plug sockets where my legs have come off.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so he gets out of the
Be
tank.
glad you skipped these sessions.
It was not a good.
It wasn't a pleasant-
Anyway, so he gets out. He finds. So Hamid is also in a tank.
No,
No,
he
Hamid's
was
just
upon
on
a
a table.
table with his arm opened, ready
Oh
to
yes,
be healed.
yes. So well, ready. He's basically a vivisection, and then
Hamid was basically fine.
yeah. So his arm was being fixed, but Sasha was lying on the table,
With
open.
with all her organs out.
but all her organs were
on the
like
outside.
were like suspended in different, like arrayed around her with different tubes and stuff, and like she was alive, but like on the outside.
So
Yeah,
her
Alex
heart
is
was
shaking
beating
his
in the
head.
air.
Well, she was sort of alive. Anyway, so Zolf put her back together
What
again.
is
So this
alive?
is the first time.
This is like the third time she's died. Basically.
Oh my gosh.
And
well,
she's-
being KO'd.
She's been she's been exploded through a wall and she was KO'd. She got squashed and she was KO'd.
And
And then this one was like she was pretty much dead.
I think
Yeah.
so. I mean, none of us were conscious, so we actually have no idea what happened. Like
Yeah.
really. Anyway, so Zolf put her back together.
Yeah.
Like a
I
boss,
did
by the way.
really, really well. No, actually rolled real
Good
well.
friend.
Yeah.
So she woke up ish and felt very weird.
Yeah.
And then woke Hamid up as well. And then
Hamid was basically fine.
and then we heard some footsteps
Giant metal feet.
coming towards the door. Then there was
Sasha lies back down and tries to pretend that her organs are back in the thing.
yeah, so we're pretending.
Zolf basically hides near the tank. Hamid lies down like, we're fine, don't go. And
then there
and
was
then it was
episode break.
worse than we could possibly imagine.
Bertie!
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't the
No.
TikToking
No.
man.
Basically, Bertie had met up with the cult of Apollo. who were the healing cult, who we'd sort of met at Notre
Apollo!
Dame. Yeah, they were just real.
There was a whole side quest. Alex got to play a character.
They're basically
He was
jocks.
great.
Hello, citizen. How are you this glorious day?
We're not going to cover the side quest because it's not relevant
Yeah.
to the main arc, but basically
wonderful.
we saw what Bertie's adventures happened. But he met up with...
Oh, there was a plot point that was relevant from the side quest, which is that Newton was a dude and had lots of information, and it was also at Prague University.
Oh, yes. Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yes,
Listen to the side quest thing as its own separate thing.
it's only 3 episodes long, so yeah, it's actually
5.
doable. Is it 5 episodes?
It was supposed to be 3.
Oh, right. But yeah, so...
What I do isn't easy, guys.
I
Staying
know.
on time, very difficult.
I was having a lovely time in Cambodia at the time.
That's Lyd, not Sasha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bertie got directed there by the cult of Apollo, who knew we wanted to go down to the catacombs and thought it was a bad plan. They were right. So at that point, we were like, oh, the party's back together again. And then a voice came out of the ceiling.
And we named it.
Well, Bertie
Hello.
named it Mr. Ceiling.
So it was a face in the ceiling.
Well, a
Yeah.
voice from the
It's
ceiling.
basically sort of GLaDOS.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mr.
Very
Ceiling
much
seems like a
GLaDOS.
good name. I guess he's called Mr. Ceiling now.
That's
All right.
Alex doing his happy voice of the robot while his eyes show his GM anger.
So...
I'm fine with this.
He just accepted any input you gave it.
Yes.
And we started talking about morality and
Oh, this sounds familiar now.
Yeah, so basically we found out that Mr. Ceiling kind of saved us all. He's the reason we weren't all drowned at the bottom of an underground river.
Because he's good, really.
Yeah.
yeah.
Very,
Impressionable, though.
very neutral.
Oh.
Actually very neutral.
True neutral.
So he was created by Francois Henri.
Yeah.
Francois Henri told Mr. Ceiling that it was imperative that nobody found out about him. Unfortunately, Mr. Ceiling has the ability to rewrite people's memories.
Over and over again.
Oh, that could
And-
lead to difficulties.
Until your brain
Fran-
gets fragmented.
Francois Henri had basically lost his personhood.
Because his memory
Because
has
his
been overwritten so much.
Mind had been
Oh,
played with
so
too
Francois
much.
Henry couldn't know about himself.
Yeah,
Sure,
well,
yeah.
yes,
Basically,
pretty
yeah.
much.
So when we
So
actually...
he didn't know who he was.
If you give AIs bad rules, it's real.
It's
silly.
problematic, mate.
But also, Mr. Ceiling loved Francois Henri because it was basically his dad. So he cared for him and didn't understand that he'd basically erased who Francois Henri was by rewriting his memory so much. But what had happened is Mr. Ceiling had rewritten Sasha's memory when she went to visit Francois Henri because it knew that no one could know that Francois Henri was broken.
So Sasha had a lovely conversation with him, as far as she
Turns out
remembered.
quite a lot of people's memories needed quite a
So-
lot of
yeah.
So
editing.
we split him open with an axe.
Yeah, we've skipped a...
We put him out of his misery.
Yeah.
Kill Francois Henri. But we also found out that Mr. Ceiling was a very powerful AI. It was actually running the world's economy, all of the banking systems, all of its, like, any mass communication in this world was basically run by Mr. Ceiling.
was powered by...
Brain!
Hooray! Human brains!
Sentient creature's brain.
Sentient creature
Yay!
brain!
Sentient creature's brain, sorry.
Which
Humanist
Sasha found
document.
out, one of which was...
Brock's. So...
Her friend from way back in other London.
I love it.
I am
Right.
just imagining the guy from Pokemon. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah.
well, now Brock is a brain.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I love that you can't remember the name from us discussing it like 20 minutes ago.
It's been
Imagine
years.
if people listen to the whole thing. It's like, yay, it's that name. Who's that name?
So we wrestled basically with the morality. Zolf tried to talk to Mr. Ceiling about being responsible as a citizen and the
That
nature
made
of good
it
and evil.
so
it-
much worse.
no.
It
Really
decided the
bad.
best thing to do would be to replace the meritocrats, expand across the globe, and start running everyone's lives for them, and adjust all their memories so they thought they were happy all the time.
And also then go into the astral plane, because it turns out Zolf was very clear that when you die, there's a heaven, so Mr. Ceiling should probably be helping there as well.
So decided that he should replace the gods.
Oh!
It was
How-
great. It went really well.
No, I don't. I
No, it went
actually
terribly.
didn't.
No, I mean, it had an outcome. Was it an optimal one? Maybe not.
So Hamid tried to figure out how to turn Mr. Ceiling off.
Yeah.
I can't help you do that, Hamid.
While, of course, they're doing that, Sasha is climbing up into the rafters and having conversations with her long-lost friend in a sort of
The piece
fragmented
of
way.
Mr. Ceiling who still remembers being
And
Brock.
Yeah, it's sort
So
of an
he-
echo of
He
Brock,
can't really remember who he is, but has these fragmented memories of them playing together as children.
which explains why that room was rented for Sasha, because Brock was manipulating, like, because it was running the world banks and everything like that, it was siphoning money off.
So it really was a nice thing for you.
I give you nice things, and you just suspect me.
This is not a nice thing.
How is this not a nice thing?
This is the point where the meme, he's a psychopath, but we respect his craft, occurred, because this is Alex torturing us.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Nice things.
slam cut to Hamid bringing us all to Mr. Ceiling's control room, and he brought us all here today to slam the button down to
And turn off the internet.
turn off Mr. Ceiling, basically, and deny him of his.
And then there was
food
some
source, energy
fighting,
source.
but we won, right? And it was totally
Yeah.
fine. And then we left, and it was kind of sad.
Everyone celebrated.
Yay.
It was really
I mean,
good.
obviously, Sasha was really conflicted. There was this moment where, as everything was falling down, she turned back and reached out and touched a pillar and said goodbye. And then, but they left. But then
And there was loads of good news.
Yeah,
The
basically,
whole of Paris was like, well done, you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome.
Hamid's parents wrote to
They
him,
sent
say they're
a-
really
they sent a
proud of
letter.
him.
saying they were proud, yeah.
Bertie's contract was fulfilled, so he was no longer,
and
Oh, we didn't even talk about Bertie's contract.
Bertie had a contract. If he wasn't a hero, he'd go to a flaming poo dimension,
yeah.
and he was bad at it.
Basically, his family is deeply indebted, so he has a contract, which means he has to be a hero.
Wait, skip past James's backstory there, guys.
Yeah, basically.
He's not here anymore.
Yeah, to defend himself.
I am here.
Yeah. So that. Yes.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
Woo!
Right, I'm sensing there is a catch, though.
Yeah, and then someone read. Then Zolf read a newspaper saying that other London had been freed from the control of Barrett, and
Which is
Sasha
really good.
was deeply suspicious.
Yeah.
Sasha did not believe
I was giving you nice things.
that could happen. Yeah, and she did not believe it. And so she started saying, this isn't real. Because nothing that nice happens to Sasha.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So we
So
just
it turned out we were in a simulation having our memories played with.
So
Yeah.
we decided to crawl back down the hole back to Mr. Ceiling's
Most of
control
us
room.
did.
Hamid
To
gave up.
repeat what I said then,
had a
you
mental
only get
break.
one. It was all a dream.
Oh yeah, Hamid
You
gave
only
up.
get the one.
Hamid gave up and then got like a nihilist pep talk by Zolf, I think.
No. It was from Brock. Brock sent a
Oh,
Brock
yeah.
sent a mechanical man and said
In the
like,
simulation.
that said you have to help her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she didn't actually need it because they'd already.
So we went back to the source, broke the illusion, and it found out that Mr. Ceiling had locked our brains like just before we were about to hit the button, and then Hamid hit the button and
then it was
actually
fine.
killed Mr. Ceiling.
Yeah.
okay.
But
All
then
right.
this time there were no celebrations.
No.
No one said thank you.
Everything shut down. Everyone got very sad and quiet. We tried to escape via the catacombs with Bertie and got lost.
And
Again?
all the people.
but then came back.
All the people in the buildings around there that had been working with the machine
And had their minds
had their
wiped a
memories
lot.
messed with, and then they could
Remembered
see
everything. Oh, and it's like
And there were
seeing all the
zombies,
zombies that were doing
There were
seeing
Oh,
zombies.
Mr. Ceiling was making more. He was working with both positive and negative energy, so
So
he's sort of like
Well,
half necromantic.
if you've got all those brains, you've got a lot of spare parts, and there were ways of optimizing.
So he was using the bodies to do some of the tasks he wanted. So those were wandering around, and he was just editing everyone's memories around so they couldn't see them. And so suddenly you're in the office just being an accountant, and then you look up and there's zombies all around
The
you.
zombie plague, I
and
remember.
you have a vague idea that your
that
life
was a-
isn't what it was.
that
So
was a
they get
different
very
zombie
upset.
Keep
This-
up, Helen. God.
This was another sort of more controlled zombie.
You've almost
plague.
hit the halfway point.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically we go upstairs and we find out.
No,
that-
you don't. There is one thing that I have to jump in on because it's directly affected things in Prague and other places.
What?
What happened before you went upstairs?
Bertie got his whole contract in his brain. So
Oh, well, there was that. You skipped that as well.
Oh,
so yeah.
the dog came back.
Yeah.
And you skipped that as well.
Mr. Ceiling
Yeah.
found the dog, brought it back to Bertie, and
edited his
erased the
memories.
dog's memory of all the horrible things
So-
Bertie had done to
On
him.
Bertie's request.
Bertie asked for it to
Yeah.
mess with Brutor's
Because
memories.
what's most important to Bertie is that
Make him
Brutal
love
loves
me
him,
again.
not that.
Make him
You
love
know.
me again.
Make him love me.
Oh my gosh.
When we shut down Mr. Ceiling, the dog remembered, tried to attack Bertie, so we had to give it away.
Oh, good dog!
So the bit that is unfortunately important, I have to wait.
the generator.
There we
the
go.
generator.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting that bit.
Hey, that was the bit where we were all sad. So I was being sad because I had no legs and everything had gone wrong, and I'd failed to teach an AI and kind of turned it into basically Zolf was not having a good time.
Yeah.
And Sasha wasn't either.
So
No
yeah,
one
so
was.
we went down into the very depths of the Mr. Ceiling complex and found this generator room, which had an intense, complex magical ritual fueled by 4 different elementals, and we
there was
destroyed
clearly
it.
a puzzle in there somewhere, and
you just blew it up.
rather than playing the puzzle,
Blow that puzzle up.
I
That's
was like
fine.
the fire elemental was suspiciously interested.
You ever tried
in
creating an original
having-
logic puzzle? Harder than you think.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. It's
I
gone
can
now.
imagine.
we just
I'm not the best at logic.
we just blew it up. Yeah.
And then we
with
found all
plans.
Francois Henry's research, and we destroyed all of it. So
Yeah.
we didn't want this technology to ever get into anyone
We
else's
found
hands.
out that he was involved in helping to create the simulacrum with his research into energy stuff.
That would make sense.
Oh, and we found out that the person who wrote the notebook and invented the simulacrum was not Edison, but Tesla.
Of course.
Edison stealing ideas from Tesla? No.
And yeah, we totally destroyed everything, and Sasha didn't put a ball of small concentrated Mr. Ceiling that she appraised and made
it was
her
shiny.
weep with its shininess.
We
in her
didn't find that out for 30 episodes,
Yeah.
did we?
But yes, anyway, so that happened. We went upstairs, and it turned out that what happens when you basically shut down the internet is everything stops working. So there's no
People were not
banking, there's
happy.
no mass communication, there's no trade logs. None of the robots that were in Paris work anymore. So they're public transportation, like in the city. People couldn't get food. So basically,
Or rather, no, it wasn't.
So
that
that's
people-
how we ended season 1.
It wasn't that people couldn't get food. It was that the food was being deliberately stolen
Oh,
by
yeah.
Mr. Gastronomy, whatever. his
La
name is.
Gourmand,
Lagomon.
who was who was
As far as translations go, it wasn't actually that bad.
Yeah.
So he's like the Paris's equivalent of Barrett, who was living in the Eiffel Tower, which was turned into basically a slum.
Eiffel's Folly.
Eiffel's Folly. And yeah, was stealing all the food and basically caused some food riots. While this was happening, Sasha was running around basically being Batman.
Yeah, trying to save people.
Yeah.
And everyone else was just falling asleep most of the time.
I think
And
Bertie went
grieving.
shopping.
Bertie went shopping, and Zolf was just
Couldn't do
grieving.
any shopping because nothing was worse.
Zolf was grieving his leg.
So yeah, Zolf
Zolf went into a heavy depression.
Zolf, heavy depression, lost his faith.
Yeah, this was the beginning of season 2. The beginning of season 2 opened super depressing.
Then Poseidon
They
tried
said
to
they
give him.
wanted it happy and pulpy. I gave them what they wanted, right?
Then Poseidon basically didn't explain what he wanted from Zolf, which is what Zolf wanted, but gave him some water legs, which was mixed messages of like, "Are you doing what I want you to?" And basically Zolf said, "Screw you, Poseidon. I don't want these legs." But then Poseidon gave them to him anyway, so he was angry about getting his legs. So yeah, that was a whole thing.
Gods, man.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
gods are tricky like that.
Gods are tricky.
Especially Greek gods.
Yeah, yes. Anyway, so then basically some food riots happened.
Yeah, there was a bunch of riots. And then we tried to run away, but the
Oh,
La
so-
Gourmands...
Oscar Wilde showed up
Yep.
and said,
But
"We
he was
need
like,
to leave."
Was
He
there
was
more
like-
puns?
No, he was more like, we need to leave. Why? Can you explain what's going on? No time to explain. Let's go quickly.
But it would literally take 5
Seriously,
minutes.
Please
like-
What you
explain.
haven't established it by this point is that Oscar Wilde is their handler.
Oh, and we're working for the meritocrats. Who
Okay.
are the
dragons.
6 dragons that run
So
the
we
world.
knew we were working for the meritocrats for a while, but it took us a long time to figure out that Oscar Wilde was our handler.
Yeah. We just thought he was irritating.
Yeah.
Turns out he was, and our handler.
Yeah.
So he tells us to leave, and
Yeah.
we get attacked by circus gnomes.
Yeah.
It was a series of gnomes in trench coats. I never said circus. You just presumed that gnomes in trench coats.
Their acrobatic techniques came straight from the circus.
They did all keep yelling, ho!
Yeah, during the fight, you were getting high up, high up.
I mean, basically, at that point, Sasha had just got a new feat that was, like, devastating acrobatics. I can't remember what it's called, but it means that...
It's still overpowered now.
Yeah, it means that when she somersaults through a square... Well, if she does an acrobatics move through a square, she gets sneak attack damage, which means that she's basically...
Always
and so,
got sneak attack.
like, I was super happy with that, and we were like, oh, let's check it's not overpowered. Oh, it'll be fine. And then Alex was like, I'm going to give that power to all the people that you encounter.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, they put like a
You want a
weird,
somersault? This is a somersault.
they put a weird anti-magic mask on Wilde, which poisons him and knocks him out. We then kill most of the gnomes. Zolf by this point is a man in some clothes, having lost all of
He has
his
no equipment, no armor, no legs.
He's in a wheelchair.
His faith is getting
No, I'm not in a
sketchy.
wheelchair. I have legs.
Oh, you have the
Yeah,
water
the
legs.
water
Yeah,
legs.
I've got the water legs.
Yeah, but he
just
keeps...
a point about the gnomes. You said there are gnomes. Were there several gnomes in each trench?
I think there
coat?
were
Or were
3
they
gnomes.
very small?
Yeah.
No, 3 gnomes per like human
Like,
size.
you know, in BoJack Horseman, where there's 2
Vincent
children. Yeah, Vincent Adultman. Yeah, like that.
Okay.
So yeah, we fight them off, but we then take we take 2 of them hostage, take shelter in a jewellery shop, and then we get surrounded by basically an army of Le Gourmand's men. There's a really, really slimy gentleman who tries to basically say, hey, come to Le Gourmand and we can just have a chat.
Hamid burns his face off.
Immediately.
Just kills him.
So
Well, I listened to what he had to say for a little while first. Once he had fully established himself to be a bad guy, I decided drastic measures were needed.
By this point, the poison had worn off of Wild, so he was back to, casting spells and stuff. And he says, wait, I've got a plan to get us out of here, be able to get out, because they start storming the jewellery shop with, like, battering rams, and it was all very serious.
There's like a troll coming through the walls.
they have a cave troll.
Basically, that was what I was going for. I'm glad. See, Helen gets it.
I'm getting all the Lord of the Rings references.
There you go.
That's all.
So Wild conjures like a big sparkly fake tank to scare them all, and we run out the back way. We muck about in the streets for a lot. Like Bertie goes on his own.
What you do is you
successfully.
successfully navigate an incredibly difficult series of encounters, mostly by fluke, and then manage to successfully avoid the entire arc to do with Eiffel's Folly. That never happened.
So we run.
That's fine.
So basically
That wasn't days of prep.
I actually
Days of
sent
prep.
Sasha into Eiffel's Folly, and you kept she went in there to try and rescue people, and you sent loads of people up the tunnel the other way, saying, "Turn back, turn back." She did.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to trigger it because if it went off on you, but no one else, then I've split the party, and I can't do that.
So Alex's problems with GMing aside.
Look, we like Grizzop, so we don't want him to get destroyed again.
Anyway, we make our way to the airport. We find a airship captained by another gnome? A halfling.
Amelia
A gnome?
Earhart.
A gnome. Amelia Earhart.
Who was a gnome?
I listened to one of the airship episodes, and the novelist turned up again.
Yes.
Oh, look at you. We've clearly stumbled onto bits that Helen knows. It's just like,
It's
I
the
know what
one
happened
thing
better
I
than all of
listened
you.
to, this and the character creation.
There you go. So, yeah.
Woo!
We're a popular podcast.
So we take off. We need to leave Wild there because Amelia Earhart hates Wild because he is working for the meritocrats. And we take off, and a big dragon one of the meritocrats comes and destroys Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower, yeah. So everyone there is assumably dead.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah, a bit of a mass murder.
Who knows?
So maybe the meritocrats aren't all that good. Who knows?
Maybe he was doing what was necessary to restore order.
Anyway, there is some chicanery with Harrison Campbell.
No. So the first thing that happens on the flight is the discussion of the rings.
Oh, yeah, so I find out what that ring means, and it means that my dad was a member of the Harlequins, which is...
An organisation of separatists.
Yeah.
Basically, they don't want the meritocrats to be in charge anymore. They want humans and the humanoid races to be in charge. And
so basically, by this point, Zolf is like, I'm depressed, I've lost my faith, I've got legs I don't want, everything is awful, and also, I think my dad was directly working against the people I'm now working for.
Yeah.
And your entire childhood was basically a lie.
Yes.
Yeah. And it, so there is a mention that Sasha's because that's the same
yes.
ring symbol that Sasha's benefactor in quote marks had, but she just doesn't push that. She's like, yeah, I know my family's awful.
Yeah, so
Basically,
Rakeheim...
Sasha's entire takeaway is, so what you're saying is that my lifetime of lies has some more lies. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a resistance.
Yes. So Rakeheim was part of the resistance. They're called the Harlequins.
Yeah, don't worry.
I mean, they're
we're
not a
in-
resistance.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily the good guys. I'm not sure anyone is the good guys.
You three are not in the resistance.
No.
We are currently working for the meritocrats.
But we're beginning. There's
bum,
but then
bum,
Zolf is increasingly.
Join the empire. We have healthcare.
Zolf is increasingly convinced that what we're doing is not necessarily right. Sasha doesn't care if what we're doing is right. Bertie only cares about appearances. Because literally it's in his contract that he has to care about his appearance of heroics.
Oh,
And-
it specifically said he had to act heroically. He didn't have to think heroically.
Yeah.
Now, Hamid
And
thinks what we're doing
Hamid-
is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So things are reaching a crisis point. And they're already reaching a crisis point, and then Bertie throws the romance author that Zolf is obsessed with off the airship
To try and teach him a lesson. Not to murder him.
So he's attached.
to a rope.
So he swings underneath it briefly.
But at this point, so also Bertie has been given a sword, the family sword,
Hello.
which has the spirit of
No,
Severard?
It doesn't have the spirit of him, but it has his advisor.
To repeat, you know, like when you get a dog and they kind of start to look like their owner, like that. But he's a sword.
So basically, the sword is there to teach him how to be heroic, and basically acts as a mentor because he's terrible at it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the sword is really passive aggressive and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. I mean, the sword is still a MacGuffin.
And quite the cutting remarks.
Oh.
Ah!
Anyway,
Yeah.
So
you
basically-
used that one already. It was exactly as good the
Many
first time.
times.
so
Pointed humour.
Oh!
so after
Cut
Zolf
it out.
moving swiftly on.
Razor sharp wit.
Ah. So anyway,
You're just jealous of the polish on my jokes.
so after Bertie punishes Harrison Campbell, Zolf loses his mind and is like, right, I'm going to murder Bertie.
Specifically, I think he tries to pommel him.
So Zolf throws
Take a
Bertie off the airship.
Wait, what?
Zolf throws Bertie off the airship.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
No, but he persuades. So someone persuades Bertie to climb down over
look
the
for
edge
Campbell.
to look for Campbell.
Yeah.
And then Earhart sticks him there and like covers him in cold water and basically almost freezes him to death.
And Zolf keeps saying, like, I'm going to cut him off, like, going to cut the ropes. But
Until
then we
he's,
hold him back.
an entire crew stopped him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Bertie comes up eventually. Zolf fires him. Bertie challenges him to a duel. Zolf refuses. They won't speak to each other
The
anymore.
whole thing.
And then we land in Prague.
Woo!
Ah.
At this point, Hamid has read one of the novels to try and understand why these people all care, and still doesn't really get it.
Hamid is a snob. So we get off at Prague.
Yeah.
Everyone storms off their separate ways, basically.
No. Everyone goes off in their separate ways, and Sasha sneaks after them.
Okay, sorry, yes.
Happily,
So
just disappearing into the crowd.
Zolf storms off.
Yeah. Bertie storms off.
Bertie kind of waits around, is threatened to be shot by Earhart, and then tries to get through immigration.
Well, he
by
wanted to
pretending
get
he's an
Campbell
ambassador.
again.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
that was
Earhart says, okay, I've just called customs. You've got about 30 seconds.
Yeah. Anyway, so we all get through customs however we do. Zolf goes to sulk in a pub. Hamid finds him and Sasha eavesdrops, and Zolf basically says, I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't think I'm a good leader, and I think I'm going to get some of you killed. So I'm out. At which point he
It
leaves.
was sort of heartbreaking.
And then
Yeah.
Zolf is gone.
It was very sad.
And
So
you broke one fan who shipped so hard that we felt bad for her.
Yeah.
So Hamid takes over and renames the mercenary group from the London Rangers. We're still working on the name.
He
Still my
worked on the
favourite
name.
Yeah.
To the London and Other London Outstanding Mercenary Group.
Bit of a mouthful, so we tried to shorten it.
Loud.
LOLOMG.
Oh, Bryn!
Hashtag Bryn is very Bryn. How Bryn is Bryn today? Extra Bryn. Bryn with an extra helping of Bryn.
I was so happy when I came up with that, you guys. So
I
happy.
bet you were. I bet you did a little dance.
It's wonderful watching people work out the acronym.
So with Zolf gone, those guys do a bit of shopping.
Yep.
So we hook
Oh,
back
yeah,
up with
they
Bertie. And then we're going to go up to the university.
Yes.
Because the
Checks.
university flies over the top of Prague. Because there's the city of Prague and then there's university, Charles University, which is just flying in the sky because, wizards.
So we were like, yeah, this is cool. Let's go teleport up to the thing. And then a scream.
Well, actually, so there's another thing, which is Sasha keeps waking up with with her wounds reopening. She was awful in the morning, so she visits.
We're getting very up to speed now, yes.
Yes, so she visits the cult of Artemis to ask them for help.
Unhelpful.
Well, and basically
Very practical.
she walks past Grizzop before they know each other, and meets basically Grizzop's mentor, has a chat with her, and she's like, I can't help you. Bye. Basically.
At that point, Sasha is still alive enough that healing is helping her.
Yes.
But that does not continue.
So this has been a problem for a while.
Well, basically,
Well, no, it's been a problem for many months of episodes, but in hourly terms, actually, in real time,
Yeah,
it's been like a week.
It's been like a week.
it's
couple of
been
weeks.
like a week.
Couple of weeks.
Well,
maybe.
a week, I think.
Basically.
Oh no, a couple of weeks because we spent a long time in
Yep.
the ceiling.
Couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 tops.
Yeah. Anyway, so that happens, but you see Grizzop there, and then when they're at the teleportation platform, Grizzop is behind them
In the queue.
because he's got his own mission to hunt down this person that the university want found. So as we teleport, there is a blood-curdling scream, and we teleport way up to the university.
So we immediately teleport back down and fight some zombies.
Yeah.
Zombies!
Ah.
Pew pew pew
Yeah,
pew pew.
fight some zombies.
The second plague of zombies.
Yes, we trace them back to a plague pit.
Good old-fashioned zombies like Mama used to make. None of those newfangled techno zombies.
Fresh from the oven.
So Hamid offers Hamid offers Grizzop a job.
Yeah, because we're all protagonists, so we fight the zombies, and then we're like, we're all protagonists. Maybe we should band together.
That's how I remember it.
Yeah, we go to a plague pit. We burn down the plague pit.
Grizzop helps. It's fine.
yes.
He helps. It's really helpful. It's cool. Helping.
Sasha can handle change.
He's very effective, and Sasha is used to being basically the effective one.
It's fine. It's cool. That's okay. You know that zombies are kind of immune to pointy damage, right? So if you do really well located stabs, they don't care because they're just a pile of mush.
Moving on from the breakdown.
You just come out and you're like, but I've got both their kidneys on my daggers. Why do they keep coming?
Anyway, so we go up to the university.
Yep.
We meet with the High Council of Wizards, which consists of Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, Sigmund Freud, some other people. I think those are the only remaining ones. But also Franz Kafka used to be one of them. But that's who Grizzop is trying to hunt down.
And there's one of them that is the name of Sasha's tutor from her My Fair Lady bit of her life.
Eldarion.
But the problem is
He's not there at any point.
She's
not there at any point.
Isn't there? And like I assume it's one of those plot hooks where Sasha's like, but I don't want to know more about my past, so that's fine. Bye. Yeah.
So a lot of stuff happens.
Alex dangles a clue.
Look, as we all know, the longer you leave a problem unobserved, the more it solves itself.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
So Bertie, so we decided to do some investigation into Kafka on the university. So Bertie goes off and tries to kill his sword because it's annoying him. So that's the whole thing. And that just happened.
That just happened. Let's just move on.
Okay.
We go to Kafka's office, talk to a raven for an episode.
Like a whole episode.
Like a pointless raven for an episode.
Yeah.
But
I have no information or anything to add to the story, but James decided I did.
Edgar Allan Poe there as well.
No.
but that was Ben getting it while also speaking. You just heard me vocalize my brain. So, but we find out eventually that he was investigating a very spooky book. And there was
Are you sure Edgar Allan Poe wasn't?
yeah.
Perhaps Lovecraft.
It was a necromantic tome of
Definitely
some sort.
Lovecraft,
Yeah,
got it.
well. So we find that out. Then we go visit Einstein for some reason. We went to visit him. We ended up in his office for some reason. And then Hamid doesn't meet.
His assistant is another old school and university friend of Hamid's. And Hamid repeatedly casts invisibility on himself.
Just learned a new spell.
Yeah.
I believe the reason you were in Einstein's office was to get a mobile stone.
Yes, we went to get them. A rockier.
Yeah. Look, what type of mobile stone you get is up to you, but that was why you were there. You were shopping for mobile stones.
Yes.
Oh, and we needed some maps as well, as I recall.
Yes, you needed maps as well.
Yeah.
Because Bertie's still off having a weird conversation with some people, Hamid just keeps disappearing. So for Grizzop and Sasha, they're like, we're trying to solve this. Hamid, where were you?
Yeah.
And then turning around.
I was right here.
Yeah.
Right here the whole time.
Turning around, and then the assistants come back and they're like, but he was just, what? No, what?
So we decide that they are probably exes.
Yeah.
Much to Hamid's distress.
We decide that they're definitely in love.
Anyway.
That's also my assumption.
Yeah, there you go.
Totally.
So having found out about this stuff, like the book and everything, we go back to the Wizard Council and say, hey, do you know of any big necromantic rituals they might be doing? And they're like, I don't know, we're not going to help you at all. So we're like, great, screw you guys, we're
Sure,
off.
that's how it went. Carry on.
Basically. That's how I remember
They
it.
were super unhelpful.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Also, is at this point we established they were all separatists as
Yes.
well?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
They're all
so they're all
Harlequins.
Harlequins. Yeah. So
Yeah,
actually,
we found out
bit
from
of
Mr. Sealing that Bola Smock, who is the meritocrat who lives in Prague, is actually dead, and people have been covering it up for ages.
which actually, in retrospect, means the wizards probably killed them. Maybe I don't know. We're making connections, but not at the time in the
No,
character.
I worked that out.
Ben.
I was going to have a whole shouting thing at them, but they
Welcome to remedial Rusty Quill.
All
just
right,
disappeared.
so-
Ooh, I'm Bryn.
So Ben's catching up.
Every time I want to have a big "this is why you're wrong" moment at some NPC or something, Alex finds a way for them to just run away. So Hamid never gets to explain to them why they're bad and wrong.
So yeah,
No
Really
closure
upsetting.
for you.
So
Closure's so 90s.
we get a bit of insight into some necromantic rituals and some nodes that might be where the plague pits are, which might be using as
we
nodes.
dash around the city trying to take down plague pits.
We fight some zombies. We have some laughs. We bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
There was a ghost. Oh, importantly, in that we didn't bring it up that much in the actual opera episode, Bertie's strength and constitution, or whatever.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he fights a ghost, and so
It was a wraith, and he had some
wraith.
con drain.
So that damages
But that meant
him.
he entered into the final boss fight with...
Oh, with like
Yeah.
no stats.
Be
Basically, the
annihilated
boss
already.
temporarily, the wraith temporarily drains away your stats, so you're just worse.
So he has no
Bertie
hit
went
points.
in to fight Kafka with no hit points whatsoever.
But to fight Kafka.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah, so
we
then-
We're skipping ahead.
Yeah.
So Hamid works out that the ritual will culminate at the opera house, where his sister is performing as the lead singer in the opera that very evening, and he'd already bought tickets because it's his sister.
Yeah.
Nice
So-
support.
So we run around, we destroy some of the plague pits, and then we run out of time and have to go to the opera. Grizzop and Sasha really want to evacuate everyone so that the big necromantic ritual, which might kill everyone, doesn't go off.
We're only like 80%, 90% sure it's going to happen. Like, you don't want to evacuate everyone and then it'd be a hoax.
So Hamid and Bertie
God
want to go
forbid
to the
anyone
opera.
interfere with the opera.
Yeah.
So,
Well, also, very reasonably, the manager of the opera house said, fine, I'll evacuate everyone and shut the opera down if you present me any evidence that something's actually happening here.
The
Takes on
letters
a
of
word.
complaint. All right.
Reasonable bureaucracy is the best bureaucracy.
So, Sasha and Grizzop go down to the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, find out that there's an abandoned basement, so they go down there. Meanwhile, Bertie gets involved in an affair that doesn't really realise in the boxes.
Hamid is monitoring the auditorium for suspicious activity.
And he sees suspicious activity in the form of some hands gripping the
Ballad.
the ballads of the boxes.
There was a
upstairs.
super suspicious box,
Yeah.
but like super
Where they're like
suspicious.
Curtains
So,
closed,
the
pallid long hand kind of creeps out of
Rustling.
it. Yeah.
Turns out just some creepy guy having
an
sex.
affair. Yeah.
But then also his wife is in the next box
Having
trying
an
to
affair
have
with
trying to
Bertie.
have an affair with
Yeah.
Bertie.
And
Anyway,
Bertie's
then-
oblivious.
Well,
pretty
Bertie's not
much.
really into that.
Women.
Yeah,
Women.
basically
Not into
the,
women.
Yeah.
Bertie
In
just
any
loves
way.
himself, really.
Oh well, no. He
loves
loves himself
himself.
and sexy boys.
And very
sexy
pretty
men. Sexy men.
Sexy
Sorry,
men.
sexy men.
Well, I mean,
We are talking about the English aristocracy, so sexy men.
definitely sexy men, but like
Sexy man.
it doesn't really care what's in their heads.
I know.
Although he did once encounter someone who was actually...
So
you know what? We're digressing.
So
Keep going.
stupid he couldn't have a crush on him.
Yeah.
Only happened once.
Yeah.
So then, after they've discovered that no, it was just a Duke in a box.
I'd like that to be the new, like, the plot maneuver is called the Duke in a Box. Right next to the smoking gun, the Duke in a Box.
So then they had a
You can call them Meredith's Duke, thank you.
had a torrid argument in a corridor. Then they ran off, and importantly, Bertie had his armor taken off as part of the.
Has
affair.
no armor
back
or
on.
hit points.
Yeah.
So he's putting his armor back on when Kafka appeared on stage and did a big spooky "Hello, Prague."
As Hamid had predicted all along, therefore
Yeah.
proving him entirely right.
In
Look,
fairness,
the narrative doesn't exist within the world, okay, Bryn?
But if we had evacuated, it would have been fine.
Meanwhile, Grizzop and Sasha.
Oh yeah, there are some zombies in the basement.
So we're fighting
So we're
those.
fighting zombies in the basement.
Yeah.
They're fighting infinite zombies.
Oh!
Yeah. So then,
Is there a zombie spawner that you have to go and hit?
we
Yeah,
could. Well,
to
if
lift
it
your
was
base.
there, we couldn't find it.
Yeah.
There was, they could have, they didn't.
Really?
That's pretty much the mantra for all encounters.
Yeah. But we held them off successfully, pretty much. Meanwhile, Bertie and Hamid were fighting Kafka himself.
So, Hamid...
Fighting
Hamid
in
briefly
quotes.
discusses, but Hamid, remember, is completely out of spells because he used them all casting invisibility to hide from the awful person.
Yeah.
And the first thing that happens after he takes a single shot at Kafka with a crossbow is Kafka casts Enfeeble Mind?
Feeble Mind.
Feeble mind.
And sets both his charisma and intelligence
And his wisdom.
to 1. So essentially, he is lowered to the intelligence of an animal.
Of a very stupid animal, actually.
Yeah.
A bear's got like 6 or something.
Yeah,
No.
A bear is 4?
No, 1s and 2s, or
Oh, okay.
all animals. And once you get 3, you start to be capable of actual cognition.
You're thinking of a different system, Ben.
Yeah.
We call that move the geek's realization.
Yet more things that Ben can realise vocally and you can hear.
Listeners get an actual just insight into our raw pulsating brains quite a lot of the time. Like,
So Hamid turns into a dragon cub
yeah.
because he's
A dragon cub.
Yeah, so it's weird.
He keeps like
A
throughout-
lizard.
Yeah, basically
The technical term is a draglet.
throughout this whole
No, it's
thing.
not.
Throughout this whole thing.
Got it.
Whenever something weird happens or Hamid gets angry, he begins to get scaly. And it's not just a skin complaint, it's a magic thing.
yeah.
It's
His
not like
hands has occasionally turned into claws.
Yeah.
His skin has started to change.
imagine like stress-induced eczema.
Oh, yeah,
but
actually-
like fire.
In Einstein, when we chatted to Einstein in Kafka's office, he basically just told Hamid that he was a sorcerer.
Yeah.
Sorcerer in this world, sorcerers aren't common. Most people are wizards. So Hamid's always thought he's a bit weird. And it turns out,
In
it's 'cause he's a
fairness, Hamid
sorcerer.
is a bit weird, but that's
yeah.
a separate topic.
Anyway, so after the feeble mind, the remnants of Hamid's intelligence.
I managed the weird animal Hamid manages to knock the book out of Kafka's hands and then scampers off.
Yeah. So Bertie then
Go and sit on a roof and curl up round a buttress.
So Bertie floats down in his magic shoes, hits Kafka, like lops his leg off.
Yep.
Kafka doesn't really care. Kafka then like casts hold person on Bertie and sort of lifts him up in a like basically a force choke kind of thing and starts suffocating him.
And then Bertie, who's come down from this high box onto the stage in his flying boots, sort of loses control and so is slowly rotating in space.
Then
It wasn't elegant.
So then Kafka gives him a choice.
And this is in front of all of the people's people of Prague, because
the
of
great
course
and good.
the opera was still going on and they're all still sat watching, terrified.
So
Embarrassing.
Kafka grabs Hamid's sister, again with magic, and says, "You have a choice. Either you die or she dies. If you tell me that you're not a hero, I will I will just kill her and let you go."
And at this point, Grizzop and Sasha come running, bursting in,
Pursued by a horde of zombies.
pursued by a horde of zombies.
And a bear.
Like,
So-
and
I
they,
love a gothic set piece.
and they immediately they start getting involved. Like Grizzop shoots the book. Sasha's like zooming up into the sky, but Bertie is still there, not really aware of this.
So Bertie is slowly suffocating, and at the very last moment, Bertie nods to say to Kafka, "Yes, kill her, save me." Kafka then says, "No,"
And kills
and
them
suffocates.
both.
Yeah, he throws Hamid's sister into the wings with a horrible crash and suffocates Bertie to death.
Wow, what a piece of work.
Yeah.
Well, both of them really.
Everyone loves a good villain, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically, Hamid
I
and
mean, this was all replicating, as you'll know,
Not
I'm
Hamid.
sure, the plot of Don Giovanni, which is the opera that was being enacted that evening. This is almost exactly the same plot as Don Giovanni.
I actually didn't know.
No,
that.
not even slightly. Not a little. I don't know what the plot of Don Giovanni is, but I know for a certainty it's not this.
Anyway, so Sasha and
In the Don Giovanni version, Brutal's still around. That's the only real difference.
long story short, Grizzop and Sasha defeat Kafka. He gets eaten by his book because classic evil books.
Yeah.
And then the book explodes and disappears. Then Grizzop finds Hamid's sister and her neck is broken and she's died. Bertie is also dead. And then he runs up. Yeah.
No reaction.
No one is really
Well,
so
honestly, no one was
Sasha and-
happier than James.
How mechanically inconvenient.
Sasha and Grizzop and like had seen him like
Yeah.
nods to like
So everyone
To
in the
try and
room
save
knew
him.
exactly
Everyone,
what he was
including
doing.
everyone in Prague,
everyone
basically.
in Prague
Yeah.
knew
So it was his
that
ultimate
he'd given
failure.
up.
So now he's in poo hell.
Yeah,
We assume.
we don't know. Yeah,
You're my favourite. Carry on.
So so Grizzop goes upstairs onto the roof where Hamid is
gets Hamid
roosting.
in a sack.
He's roosting. Yeah, he puts
Brings
him in a
down.
sack, brings him down.
Yeah.
We go back to the university where Bertie's body is laid out. The wizards restore Hamid's stats so he becomes intelligent again.
And then you have to break the news that
There
both
is-
his oldest friend, who's been adventuring with for the past several months, and his sister are dead.
Yeah.
And Sasha's news, which you sort of discovered a bit during the theatre, but it only became clear.
Is that you were half dead?
Oh, yeah.
That's when you like explicitly
It
work
begins
it
to
out.
be like the healing hurts her.
So there's a bunch of like necromancers around Sasha being like, I don't know what will work. Let's try this. She gets student doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's all this
Like
stuff.
first year, like
Yeah.
basically they'd done
bit of
better
poking and
getting
prodding,
the
yeah.
assistance.
Throughout the zombie attacks and plague pits, there had been like there was a ring of attract undead. There was a whole side plot of some bad, like
Positive
Bertie doing
energy was
some
being
bad
thrown around.
and
but,
so she kept finding herself like attracted to.
Suffice it
the
to say,
ring.
excellent GMing was had.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Subtle clues build up. Blood is everywhere.
At what point did you die properly and then...
that was Mr. Sealing when all organs were outside.
So yeah,
Oh,
the way
since then!
So
the way that
basically-
Mr. Sealing had resurrected Sasha, we assume.
she was improperly resurrected.
I hope you're happy for hooks that pay off in a year or two.
So since then, her body has been gradually degrading.
Yeah, and she's been slowly turning properly undead.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But the other thing that was happening at the university was the cult of Mars had turned up.
I love them. They're
Because
great.
the entire panel at this point had fled in shame because
All
they
the
were about to be
wizards-
arrested.
The wizards ran.
So we all got arrested by the cult of Mars, and they
They
were
arrested us.
and they were basically
we
the
were the
cult of
ones who
Mars,
saved the world.
and the cult of Mars were basically bad and
Still
stupid.
upset about that.
They were bad and stupid, and nobody likes them.
And they
They started questioning me about the disappearance of my ex, who I hadn't seen in nearly a year.
To clarify, not the ex that he was avoiding, who wasn't actually an ex, it turned out.
It was a different ex, and they kept like, I mean, talking of exes, they kept talking to Sasha about how she was ex-living, and therefore they needed to finish the job because they're not really very keen on the undead.
They're quite hardline.
Yeah,
I don't like them.
No one does. Anyway, so we do manage through basically Wilde gets us off the hook and says to the cult of Mars, the meritocrats dealing with this, let these people go, and then he tells us that we need to go and find Isaac Newton. Or go into Isaac Newton's office because they reckon that there's something in there which will help to explain about the simulacrum.
so that was quite a thing because Newton has changed the laws of physics. So going into his tiny little student office took 3 days
Yeah,
of marching in the
we all-
wilderness.
We all become tiny. We did like a whole wilderness march. We climbed up a table, which was very, very dangerous.
Took ages.
It really did. And then we found a little... Newton found us, and we found a little bubble, which was like a little... what is it called? A
snow
pocket dimension? Yeah. Like a pocket dimension that he'd had like a nice English sort of home counties estate in.
Good square trees, good square birds.
Oh, everything was very geometric and precise. Newton's a...
Minecraft.
Newton is a
cuboid
character.
apples.
Including Hamid's actual ex.
Yes. So Hamid is forced to confront his ex.
I think it went really well.
Oh, I can't believe. So when I originally wrote the backstory, she was supposed to be sympathetic. Turns out you don't give anything to Alex that you want to remain sympathetic.
Hamid remained sympathetic
That's
by
'cause
me
he's still
constantly
mine.
making him suffer.
When I was building my backstory, that's one of the pointers you should have given me.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
There's a reason that you built it with me, not them. Misery.
So she criticizes Hamid a lot, and he's like, "How dare you?" And also, turns out she is engaged to the guy he was hiding from before, who was the old school bully, and the two of them had got an immense amount of trouble together and both been kicked out of university. And she seems to think it's Hamid's fault when it's clearly his.
The other guys, yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty bad.
But what we do find out is that she was working on the same sort of generator tech that was powering Mr. Sealing.
Yep.
So that links her and Henri and Newton
and she'd also
Tesla.
been briefly Kafka's assistant
And
before he
Kafka.
went full insane.
So
we kind of semi-arrest her and drag her out.
We get copies of her research as well to pass to Wilde and the meritocrats. Because at some point our mission changed from finding out how and who designed the simulacrum, because we found that out pretty early, into continuing to investigate the process by which it was constructed to find weaknesses. Because Tesla has off with Ada Lovelace and Charles Babbage to America, which is an enclave of
Good
separatists.
memory.
I had no
I
memory
completely
of that.
forgot about
memory.
that. It's
When did
really
that
lucky I
happen?
changed it to a character that can't remember this because Ben can't remember this.
When did that happen?
And that the plans that were stolen for the simulacrum were taken by someone called Jeremy, and everyone's worried that he took them to the separatists.
Yeah, I didn't remember his
Oh,
name.
Jeremy
was
was the sexy backflipper.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, that was
I didn't
so
remember his
long
name,
ago.
but I did remember that he was potentially taking
Also,
them to separatists.
That's
no,
amazing.
No joke, it was 2015. Yeah.
So I remembered the plot point, just not the name. So our
Super proud of Bryn right now. Super proud of Bryn right now.
This is. Let
That
me
was
say
4 studios ago.
the plot.
Wait, sorry. He said studios. What I mean is studios.
Sorry, that was
Very
one
big
studio
bunny
ago,
ears.
a hallway ago, and then like we're heading into blanket territory.
Okay.
Yeah, we were
like if you
recording
think
under
this is a
blankets.
complex campaign, you should play in one of Anna's
yeah,
campaigns.
yeah.
Oh, community
Anna's our
manager.
community manager, one of my oldest friend. Like literally, I still do not understand campaigns I played in with him that he's explained the plot to me in detail. He used to have pages of 100 characters that were Dramatis Personae. That was insane.
Imagine
anyway.
me with prep. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Anyway,
so we're
So
worried that the
Annal's
separatists.
podcast can be
sorry,
found
actually,
at-
very quickly. Meanwhile, while Hamid was talking to his ex, Sasha and Grizzop found some hats.
yeah, we found some treasure.
We went into the treasure vault and found hats.
Of course, that's yes, true.
Treasure vault and hats.
We just
So,
picked up nice
our,
things.
our mission now is to identify weaknesses in the simulacrum. So, in case the separatists in America, led by those 3, end up building an army of
Still
them.
so proud of Bryn.
So, with that being our mission, we sort of debrief with Wild.
Yeah, so we give him the plans. We say, look, this is the power source. It's it's the same thing we still here. It's been miniaturized. Blah. We find the old Mr. Ceiling remnant that Sasha had stolen.
Look, I mean,
yeah.
it was very shiny and it looked like it might be valuable. So, of course, you all broke it.
So Grizzop smashed it with a hammer.
yeah.
Because we
This
don't.
is the episode I was silent in.
Yes. So this.
And then there was dirt.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All of the.
So we nicked a bunch of bags of holding from the treasure vault. We were
They were
like, yeah, I bet
Newton's
they're full
treasure
of
vault.
great things.
They're just
And
full of
then
dirt.
they were just full of
Full of
dirt.
He's just look. Newton was a really strange person, very
This is
smart,
true.
but really strange.
So this is the last episode of season 2.
Okay.
So the very final thing that happens.
We hunt down Einstein, who was just hiding in his office. I think.
No.
Oh no, he was hiding on a beach.
Yeah.
he was on a beach, and none of you were answering your mobile stone. Why does he give you a mobile stone if you don't answer the bloody
Because
thing?
he left them all on silent.
Yeah.
Well, there's your answer. But we ring him up on his mobile stone in his office and say, "Dear Einstein,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
We're under quarantine by the cult of Mars. Pretty please, could you just teleport us to Cairo?"
And he did.
And he did.
And then
Well,
we met you.
yes.
Yay!
I think, long story short, like everyone knows that you're kind of joining, but I think that's more or less you up to date.
So anyway, it only took 1 hour and 40 minutes, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that. That
I mean,
was
I'm actually struck by how
Well, no,
much
no.
I didn't remember.
Yeah.
The hour and 40 minutes was what we remembered. There's now
Oh, yeah.
another 3 hours of Alex telling us all the things we
I'm not
forgot.
going to tell you anything. I'll just punish you with them until you notice them.
yeah. So yeah, that was how many episodes?
That was like
84?
Yeah.
3 years of work.
Yeah. So that's like
we've been
eight,
doing this 3 years.
well, that's 85 hours of content.
You want something
boiled
really
down.
depressing? Add about 25 hours maybe per episode in editing. That's the time investment to get
So
to this point.
So gang. Thank your editors and thank our editors.
We're very grateful. Thank you.
they
editors.
never get enough thanks. Give them thanks.
Thank
Yes.
you, editors.
And on that note,
Bye.
See you for season 3.
Rusty Quill Gaming is a podcast distributed by rustyquill.com and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial International License. Today's episode was recorded and produced by Alexander J. Newall. To comment on episodes, make donations, and view links, images, videos, and show notes, visit rustyquill.com. Rate and review us on iTunes. Visit us on Facebook. Tweet us on Twitter at @TheRustyQuill or email us at mail@rustyquill.com. Thanks for listening.